Everyone's periods last a different length of time, and the amount of blood you lose varies from person to person. It ranges from about 1 or 2 tablespoons to an egg cupful. After your period has finished, your body starts to prepare your uterus all over again for the next egg in the next month, and this is what's called the menstrual cycle. The cycle lasts anything from about 21 to 34 days, and you're probably starting to notice already that there isn't one rule for everyone because we're all different. You'll have to work out once you start your periods how long your own cycle is. It starts on day 1 and a period can last anything from 3 to 7 days. Well, it'll take a while for your periods to come regular once you start, so it might be difficult to get it exactly right from the beginning. The one thing to know is that you will start to recognise your own symptoms and how you're feeling as you have more periods. Some girls keep a diary so that you can mark the first day of your period and then make a note of when the next one arrives. It makes it a bit easier for you to be prepared than either have a towel or some tampons in your bag.
If you think you might be starting your period soon, then it's good to be prepared.
First, you need to think about what you want to use: panty liners, tampons, or towels. There is a loss of choice, and it can be confusing as to what is the right product for you.
For lots of girls, before their period even arrives, they notice a fluid being released from their vagina. This is called discharge and is the body's way of keeping the vagina clean and free from infection. You might spot it about 6 to 12 months before you have your first period. It isn't anything to worry about. During this time, many girls find using panty liners is an ideal way to catch this fluid and leave them feeling clean and fresh.
When your period does arrive, most girls start with towels. They're made of an absorbent material and they stick to the inside of your underwear. Some have wings that fold over the side to keep them in place. Most girls change their towels every 3 to 4 hours, switching to special nighttime ones for when they are sleeping.
When I first started my period, my mum didn't really introduce me to tampons yet, so I just naturally went straight into towels. But then after a few years when I got older, and I started realising that when I went on holiday, especially when I had to go swimming, it was less convenient. So that's when I started using tampons.
My friends used tampons and pads. I had a mixture of friends that used different things, but when I tried tampons, I didn't feel comfortable. So every time I'm on my period, I always use pads, towels, and unless I'm going swimming, then I'd just be using pads.
I actually, because I was quite a late starter, I wasn't that anxious or anything about using a tampon, so I just went straight into that, and I've just been using them ever since, to be honest, because it's kind of less mess, just easier to handle.
When I first started my period, my mum said, do you want to go out and see what kind of towel you think you want to use? So I did that, and it made me feel more comfortable and mature so I can make my own decision on things like that.
Yeah.
As your body grows and changes during puberty, whether it's a new bra or some new shoes, you may find that you have to update your wardrobe a few times. It's no different when it comes to managing your periods and finding the right products for you. Every girl's periods will be different. Some might get heavier periods and some might get lighter ones. Some might get cramps for a few days before their periods, and others won't get cramps at all.
I always make sure to keep track in my diary. I kind of know roughly when it's going to happen. But I normally get some symptoms, like I might get belly cramps or kind of break out in a few more spots, and that's kind of annoying, especially if you've got a party planned and then you know it's going to happen, you're like, no.
When your periods become regular and you get used to your own monthly cycle, you may want to consider changing the size, absorbency, or combination of products you use to help you manage your period and find the best fit for you and your lifestyle.
I use sanitary towels, I didn't use tampons.
Yeah, it was kind of, I always used what my mum had bought, so I didn't really talk to her about changing over to tampons or anything like that. It was just sanitary towels.
When I'm on holiday, I try and use sanitary towels when I can, but it's more tampons because you're swimming.
I suppose especially when you're doing sports, it's a lot easier to use tampons because they're a lot more discreet. So it's kind of easier to kind of forget about it.
When you feel ready, you may want to move on to tampons, and you can choose from an applicator or a non-applicator tampon. Tampons are made of cotton or a cotton-like material, and they're shaped like a cylinder. They absorb menstrual fluid and expand to fit your body, so you're less likely to leak. They're often more discreet and comfortable because you wear them inside your body. They're ideal too if you're on your period and want to go swimming.
If you're wondering where they go, let me explain. You have 3 openings between your legs. The front is where your urine is passed, at the back is for waste, and in the middle, that's your vaginal opening, and it's where the tampon is inserted. You insert a non-applicator tampon using your finger, and then leave the string hanging outside your body for when you want to remove it. You shouldn't feel the tampon when it's in place. With an applicator tampon, the tampon itself is the same. It just has a cardboard or a plastic outer shell that is used to get the tampon into place. Once inserted, an applicator tampon works exactly the same as a non-applicator tampon, and the string will be left hanging outside your body for when you want to remove it.
There is a very rare illness called toxic shock syndrome, or TSS for short, that some of you may have heard about. TSS affects a very small percentage of people. It can affect men and women of any age, and you can get it from things like burns, insect bites, after surgery, and occasionally when you're on your period and are using a tampon.
Even though TSS is a very serious illness, it is extremely rare, so it's unlikely you'll ever experience it or meet anyone who has. However, it's always good to be in the know, and you should read the booklet enclosed within every pack that discusses safe use of tampons, some of the warning signs, and what to do should you believe you may have TSS. Your hormones don't just cause physical changes. Your behaviour can change and your emotions too. For example, how you feel about yourself, your body and other people.
It can be really bewildering and a bit frustrating as your emotions can feel a bit out of control, but it is just the hormones. We can become moody, upset or angry. We might want to cry for no reason. Some women feel like this before their periods every month, even when they get older. So your mum or your auntie or even older friends will completely understand what you're going through and exactly how you're feeling.
I always know when I'm going to come on my period because, well, one thing, I eat so much. The week leading up to actually coming on, my mum knows. She's like, Joelle, have you just eaten like 3 chocolate bars? I'm like, yeah. I just eat so much. And also, me and my mum have some really bad arguments because we always normally come on about the same time. So my poor brother, my poor little brother has to deal with the house being screamed down by 2 hormonal women. So yeah, that's when we both know we're like, hey, we're definitely both going to come on soon.
It can be a pretty confusing time, so this may be when you want some support from your friends or family. There's no doubt about it. Having that first conversation with your mum is pretty embarrassing. I remember when I first heard about periods, I just thought, there's no way I'd ever want to talk to my mum about it. Looking back now though, my mum really did understand, and I felt better having someone to talk to. We can have a good old giggle about it now. Do you remember what I was like as a teenager, Mum?
A hormonal monster? No, that's not fair. It's just that one minute you were my lovely little girl and the next minute you were slamming doors and storming upstairs.
I didn't know how to approach you. I was feeling all these different emotions. It was confusing and embarrassing. I felt like I'd make it uncomfortable for both of us if I talked about it.
It was a tough time for me too, you know. I knew your periods were coming. You were getting tummy cramps and breaking out in spots and the mood swings.
I know, I was a nightmare, wasn't I?
Oh, it's something all us mums know you're going to go through, and I was always ready to sit down and listen with a cup of tea.
I was so relieved when you left that leaflet about puberty and some pads on my bed. It gave me a chance to read about it on my own. Then I didn't feel quite so silly talking to you about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to be there for you, you know, like whether it was your first bra or your first boyfriend. You know, I just felt that we could chat and talk about things, and even though we had our moments.
Don't remind me. I thought one of those doors would come off its hinges. I was always storming off to my room. I just couldn't control the way I felt. One minute I wanted to scream and the next I was bursting into tears.
I know. Luckily I understood you weren't angry at me though. You know, it's just those hormones. And as women we all have to go through that.
So how do you want to talk about it? Remember, whether it's buying towels or tampons for the first time, or just talking about your concerns, how do you want to start the conversation with your mum?
I was really fortunate when I started my period because it was in the morning when I do my daily trip to the loo, and it was. I expected it, I was prepared for it. So when it happened, I was running around the house going, Mum, Dad, shout at my sister's home going, I've started my period. Everyone was like, everyone was tired. I was like, I was so excited. I just ran around, just wanted to tell everyone in the world.
I had to wait until after school to phone my mum because obviously I couldn't phone her, but she reassured me it was fine. So it's always, nice to have someone to talk to.
When my first period started, I was actually on my French exchange at school. And I was with my friend and we went to the toilet together because I was like, something's a bit weird today. And I went to the toilet and I was like, I shouted my friend's name and I was just like, what is this? I was like, someone help me. But then she just told me, oh yeah, it's your period. And I was like, oh, yay.
Sometimes it's not as easy to speak to your mum, or your family, but when you can't speak to anyone about it, it's good to like either get a diary or if you just really feel alone about it, just make sure you speak to someone because it does help.
Yeah.